All
All right. Week 6 of the Circa Millions. Um, recap of week 5, our first winning week of the season. Um, which maybe sounds worse than it is. But we did get a 3-2 week, improved 10, 14, and 1 overall. Individual recaps, Bowen improved to 4-1. Although one pick does continue to come with an asterisk. Moves to 4-1 with the Lions -10. Great pick there. Kiernan improved to 2-3. He had the Jags +5, London's team. And I sadly dropped to 1-4. Just Man, tried to ride those Broncos, fade the Jets. Seemed like we had it. But never really did we? So I was on the Broncos -2 and lost outright to the Jets at home with the field all iced out. Jets walked it off with a pick at the end to seal it. No bueno. We dropped it collectively as a group to 0-5 on Sunday Night Football. Bowen and I were on the Cowboys +3.5. Kiernan was the sharp. He was the dissenting voice with the 49ers -3.5. However, we did go with the Cowboys with the majority rule. So tough. That was a tough one. We were just kind of out of it from the jump. 49ers went down the field, scored on the opening drive, made it look really easy. I think the writing was kind of on the wall there. Cowboys kind of hung around a little bit where it was like, maybe they could get this thing back into striking distance, but they were never close. The
I
wheels just
think we are. I think we're 0-3 on Cowboy games this year. On whatever side we've taken, I think we've gotten
Yeah, because we were
like.
very wrong on the Giants. I know that.
Yep,
Did they lose to the Cardinals?
they
They
did.
did. They did lose.
Oh,
I think
Yep.
we were on the Cardinals.
Or
I think
well, they won, but I wait.
no,
No, they
I think we were in the
lost. It was
Cowboys.
they
the
lost.
Giants. It was the
The
Giants that
Giants
made
that
the
won.
comeback and almost
Giants.
covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then of course we did pick the Giants against them and lost as well. So
Yep. Yep. So yeah, that's a good observation. We have not been able to pin down the Cowboys this year, and we're gonna get another shot at it this week.
Yeah.
In a football game. We did improve to 3-1-1 Monday Night Football. So great win from the Raiders. Little dicey. Always tough, never easy. The Josh McDaniels play calling continues to just really put things at risk. But we persevered. We came out on top. So, like I said, first winning week of the season. Again, I think that sounds worse than maybe it really is because we've had just several 2 and 3 weeks. Had a 1-4 in there, or 1-3-1. But yeah, good positive week. I think something to build on. Kieran, you said it in the chat or in the group text, quoting what was it? Major League? Is that the movie?
yeah.
Yeah. We win this week. That's 2 in a row. And if we win 3, it's called a winning streak. And it has happened before. So let's hope this is kind of the beginning of a run. We're heating up, about to go on a heater. So any thoughts on week 5? Any kind of high level thoughts on week 6 before we hit the wheel?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think one thing that's worth noting is that we're getting into that part of the season where bye weeks are starting to factor in. So I don't have it offhand. I do have some teams for some games that I might like where I did make note of that. Just teams coming off the bye. It's always worth noting. One thing that I do like every year, and I don't think it's relevant at all this week, but I do like rookies coming off the bye, especially rookie quarterbacks. I feel like that's an opportunity for them to really lock things in and kind of go over some things and also just take a break because I'm sure it is pretty overwhelming going from the college schedule where it's definitely a little bit more lax. All of a sudden, you're a professional doing it for a living. So I think as weeks go on, that is something that we should keep track of.
Yep. Are there any rookie quarterbacks off of bye this week?
I don't think so.
Bye teams last week: Browns, Chargers, Seahawks and Bucks.
So no.
Yeah. Browns obviously we'll talk about, but not or we all right, I might have tipped my hand. But,
I mean, you guys were like all over to the group chat anyway. So
I know.
The worst kept secret.
Yeah, but that is not a that's not a rookie quarterback situation. So Zach, any thoughts?
No, I'm ready to go. I feel good. I think the winning week, although like you had kind of said, 2-3, had a lot of those. Had a lot of those. It was just good to get over that hump. Really string three together. Yeah, no, excited for the team. It was a big
Yeah,
week.
and I will say, you know, as much as I would love to gloat and say I was right all about that with the Sunday night, I mean, you know, it is part of the game. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of picks. So it's one of those two. I'm a big karma guy. So just because I was right this time does not mean that I'm going to be right every time and everything like that. So, I mean, you know, we're a team. So I'm not going to rub your noses in it at all. I mean, I'm 2-3. It's like I could be doing better on my end as well. So,
Yep.
all right. We ready to spin the wheel?
No, let's do it.
Of course.
Week 6, right? So I did 6 slices for everybody.
Yeah, it's weird. This shit's flying by. I don't know. I feel like these Thursdays are just like sneaking up on me every week. It's crazy. We're already here.
I love
it. All right. Here we go. Ooh,
that's Kieran.
All right.
Nice. Wow, I didn't realize it was gonna be that close.
You know, I wasn't too nervous just because I do feel like I know where at least one of you guys is going to go. So I was okay with going second if I had to. But I do like getting the first pick just because that means that I can get what I feel like is my mortal lock. It feels like my true first mortal lock of the season. I haven't really felt this way about a pick yet. It's a favorite, so it's not some sharp, crazy dark horse pick. I'm going with the Bengals -2.5. You know, I got to ride with it. I mean, especially seeing all that stuff, Jamar Chase, Devin Witherspoon, that whole conversation. I mean, it does just feel like Jamar Chase is primed to go for 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, any shit like that. I mean, it's a real like welcome to the league moment. I feel like every player in every sport has that type of story where, you know, when did a veteran kind of sun you on the field and make you realize that it's like
when did you get baptized?
Yeah, you're not the big fish in the small pond anymore. Hold on, I'm trying to find. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like Cincinnati might be back after last week. Last week felt like they were kind of putting their foot in the ground and saying like, all right, enough's enough. We've seen that the last couple of years out of them. We saw that last year too, where they started off, I think they were 4-4. So they were, you know, kind of going back and forth on wins early in the season. Then they went on a little win streak. And then all of a sudden they really put their foot in the ground. They beat the absolute shit out of Carolina. They beat them 42-21. I feel like we could see a game similar to that this week. I feel like this is a championship caliber team. And the Seahawks, they're no joke. They're a good team. But this is a championship caliber team playing at home against a team that I don't think is quite on that level as the Bengals should be. So I feel like the Bengals are starting to get back. It sounds like T. Higgins is going to be back. I think it could be a big offensive day. I think that they could go off. I think that a field goal is just not nearly enough to hold back the Bengals there. So I'm locking them in, especially getting them under that too. I mean, you always love to see that. So I'm locking them in. That's my mortal lock. Bengals -2.5.
Yeah, so that was my one of, you know, my top 3. I love the game, love the spot. Joe Burrow last week. It's crazy how you can just kind of turn that, turn that switch on. He was a completely different quarterback than it's been the first 4 weeks of the season. That might have to do with the calf healing, or that might just have to do with, like you said, KB, that's just kind of what they do, what he does. Slower starts, but once he hits that stride, I mean, Jamar Chase, always open, pretty much unstoppable when Burrow's on and he's on, and just adding a healthier, 80%, 85% T. Higgins. If he sounds like he's been practicing and, really ready for the week. So, I mean, if they're rolling, they're just a really hard team to beat. We've seen it so much already in the few years they've been in the league together. When they're on, it's really tough to beat. Gino, and the Seahawks, I think they're 3-1, had a big win against the Lions, but I think we're gonna see them kind of regress a little bit over the course of the season. Geno's looked solid but not great. like he did last year. It feels like it's a tick below what he was last year. And yeah, KB, love the pick.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous now because this was my number 2 pick, so it wasn't my first pick.
It was my number 2 pick as well. Yeah, that was
But I am nervous that Zach and I have the same number 1 pick, which means that if that is the case, the wheel is going to be incredibly interesting. But I did have this as I was on the Bengals. Kieran, I think, seeing them the same way you are, that this feels like a very similar spot. Went back and looked at the last 2 full seasons under Burrow. Anytime they've lost a game, they've always come back and won at least 2 games off of that loss. This is their second game off of that Titans loss. I do feel like Burrow is starting to get healthier. I know he addressed that in a media session this week. Pro Football Doc, who's usually very good, on Twitter in terms of the former Chargers head physician, usually very good in terms of, understanding and being able to kind of diagnose where guys are at. Feels like he's getting close to 100%. So I love the Bengals here. I think especially inside that number, it was a pretty confident pick for me as well. So good. Love it.
All right. Back to the wheel. Sounds like a big spin here.
Could be. I don't know. We don't know.
Wow.
Oh boy, what do you got?
Wow.
wow. I actually couldn't tell.
Yeah, I know. That's like right on the line.
Yeah.
Well, in the group chat all week, there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of conversation about the Niners.
I don't think
kind of where that line was going to be.
I don't think he's doing it. I think he's
kind of where that line was going to be, and great pick. I know Tristan's high on them, but give me the Eagles -7. I want to do this as a gesture of goodwill to Tristan and the team, the whole entire team. And vibes are good right now. I want to keep the good vibes rolling. Love the Eagles.
Hold on. How do we feel about this, Kieran? How do you feel about conceding a pick? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I got no issue with it. I mean,
right. I hope
come with 3 picks, and I mean, I think it's a strategic move if he knows that, or at least he has the feeling. I mean, you could also change your mind, but if he has the feeling that that's going to be his pick, then why use his opportunity to take one when he knows it's already going to be on the card?
All right, if you feel confident in that other pick,
I do. No, I do.
And quite frankly, you're 4-1 right now. Again, disputed 4-1.
Yes.
It has an asterisk. But if you're 4-1 right now, you've got the confidence. So all right, let's keep it going.
Yeah. No, I do like the Eagles. I think this is just like a spot where they could absolutely throttle the Jets. I don't think I just don't think the Jets have it in them to cover against a team like the Eagles. The Zach Wilson year just continues to be really weird, the way the media and like the public is really going at him one week, and then the next week he's like the sympathetic hero that's like doing his best but like just coming up short. And I just don't, it's just all a mess over there. And the Eagles are so polished already early in the season. They're a really, really just stout offense, really, really solid defense. I mean, the D line is fucking insane. They really can just wreck a game. Zach Wilson's not that guy to be standing in the pocket against those fucking big fucking dudes. So yeah, I just think it's a nightmare kind of game for the Jets, and the Eagles just take care of business.
Yeah, the Eagles, they were also on my card. That would have been one of my picks, but yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it's as simple as this, right? The Eagles, they thrive. I don't have the record offhand, but they thrive as touchdown or more favorites. And then I just feel like the Jets, they're kind of in a come down spot where they had, the big moment. Of course, they started off the season with a big emotional win with Rodgers going down. Then they had their big moment, on prime time against Kansas City. And then they had their opportunity to go at Sean Payton with all the comments that were said about Nathaniel Hackett, everything like that. I feel like that they've kind of dealt with a lot of emotion now, and this is kind of a game where they take a step back, right? They almost have nothing really to go for this week. There's no bulletin board material there. So I think this is one where the Eagles, they come back in, and yeah, it's just we kind of remember who the Jets are, because I'm not gonna fall into any trap with believing the Jets momentum or anything like that. I do think at some point we do see Zach Wilson take a back seat to Trevor Siemian at this point, at some point later in the season. So I don't think Zach Wilson's going to stick around. We got to remember who he is and who he has been for all of his career. So yeah, I'm not buying into any of that. I mean, they went from almost beating the Chiefs, giving the Chiefs a real scare on Monday Night Football, to squeezing out like an emotional win against Denver. Yeah, I'm not buying that team.
But and I think too, let's also be honest about how the Chiefs look right now. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
truly.
I mean, look, they're winning games, right? And they're getting it done, but I don't think they look like the Chiefs that we're used to seeing. That offense seems a little out of sync. The defense,
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying last week, talking about the
yeah.
Vikings. Of course, the Chiefs did win that game, but I mean, who knows if Justin Jefferson, stayed healthy and his hamstring wasn't all fucked up? Because that's what I was saying. If it turned into a shootout, like I would argue that the Vikings were better equipped for a shootout, and we saw how they were hanging around, and they were really giving the Chiefs a game there. So yeah, I mean, this is not the same Chiefs offense, especially with Kelsey and his ankle issues. Of course, he still went out, had a great game, but even at one point late in the game, he was coming up limping. He had to go to the sideline. So yeah, I mean, we talk about, as long as they have Mahomes and Kelsey, they're going to be fine. But they do need these receivers to start stepping up a little bit to maybe carry a little bit more of that load. Like, I mean, they're just not what they were when they had Kelsey, who was a little bit younger, and then also Tyreek Hill. I mean, obviously they're going to be hurting from that.
They feel a little bit like 2019 Patriots. Like the records there. They're getting the job done, but Mahomes doesn't have the numbers. They're not as explosive. Again, like the results are there, but like you kind of start to realize, like, we're not getting it done the same way that we used to,
Yeah, and the competition's not really there in the division either. So it's like they can still kind of cruise to an easy divisional title.
Good,
and yeah, I mean, that could be a team that we could be looking to fade. Obviously, it won't be for the contest, but just for our own personal investment, we could be looking to fade them in the postseason, because it could be a team where, like that last iteration with Brady, they have the Titans come into Foxborough and they just get absolutely smothered, and then it ends with a pick six, and it's very unceremonious. It could be something similar to that, where they go in and maybe, it's a similar game against the Jags last year, but they don't come out on top.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. So,
all right, back to the wheel.
Yeah. Let's,
we're all about tradition here. All right.
Gotta see it all the way through, right? All right. Well, I'm going with the 49ers.
Yeah.
Minus 7.5 over the Browns. This is, Zach, I was talking with Kieran a little bit on the phone, I think yesterday, on my commute home from the office. And, I kind of just said, I think, like, for me, I've gotten away the last few weeks a little bit from, like, I've almost looked too hard for games and kind of gotten away from, like, just like not overthinking. And this to me is a game, I just feel like you don't overthink this one. It's already up to minus 9.5 with the confirmation that Deshaun Watson's out. We're talking about a football team in the Browns that doesn't have their starting quarterback. They don't have their starting running back. We saw last week, obviously, with a different QB, they looked all out of sorts. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't get anything going. Or 2 weeks ago, rather, because they were on the bye last week. Looked awful, just awful. And now you're bringing in PJ Walker, and, like, I know he's a veteran, but, like, I don't think that's an upgrade. I mean, we've seen PJ Walker play NFL football.
Everyone knows who he is. It's just
we know who he is. He's had a couple explosive plays. He had a couple moments last year. What was it? There was the moment against where he connected with DJ Moore on that deep ball against the Falcons, right? In shootout. I think they still lost the game. They didn't get a 2-point conversion or some bullshit. I don't know what it was. But he had a couple great moments with DJ Moore individually where they connected on some deep plays. But overall, his body of work is very unimpressive.
I'd say it's not to push back too hard. I would say that's a huge upgrade from DTR at least.
Yeah, but
It's like
still,
it's like Andy Dalton going in for Bryce Young, and the Panthers actually going to win. You know?
yeah, but I don't think we're talking about Andy Dalton here. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's true.
we're talking about PJ Walker, who 2 years ago was playing what in the XFL.
Yeah, but we're also not talking about Bryce Young. We're talking about
yeah,
and
we're not talking about Dorian, whatever his name is. But
DTR.
again, I think we're talking about a journeyman, not even journeyman NFL quarterback, like a journeyman professional quarterback, who I don't think gives the Browns a good opportunity to win a football game, never mind against, what's probably going to be your Super Bowl champion in the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, this team is, we've said it every week for the last few weeks. They're an absolute wagon. Brock Purdy has not lost a game. The D line, for the Browns, that defense, they're still stout, right? Myles Garrett continues to play great. But we've also seen Purdy is fantastic against teams that blitz. He did it against the Giants. They blitzed, I was just reading a stat. They blitzed 33 out of 39 dropbacks. Purdy was 20 of 31 for like 240 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he handles the blitz, no problem. So, I just feel like the 49ers offense has too many ways to beat you. They can thrive on quick plays. They've got athletes that are just moving fast all over the field. I think they're going to have PJ Walker scrambling for his life when he's out there. To me, 7.5. I mean, obviously it's 9.5 now, but I don't even think 9. I would still bet the Niners at 9.5.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about an early slate East Coast game either. Like, they were in that same position against the Steelers in the opening week. I took the Steelers on that side. Obviously, we know how that went. I just think this is a team that is as stout and professionally buttoned up, and like they're every week they're here to win. Like, you got to start to wonder. I mean, you look at their schedule and it's like, who do they lose to? It's, you got to start to ask yourself, like, with how good and how many playmakers they are. Obviously, injuries will play a big factor in, where they end up. But you just look at that team and you look at what they're doing week to week, and it's just like, how do you slow this team down? How do you beat them? I don't know. But I see them in a rout this week. I think they just take care of business, and they move on to week 7.
Yeah, that was one thing I just really just couldn't, like, even at PJ Walker's maxed out potential against the Niners, I don't think that even would get them over the hump to keep that game close. I just don't think on PJ Walker, just his maxed out best day ever, I still think it's probably like 27 to like 13 Niners. Like, I just don't know how they, like you said, backup running back. Who's beating that Niners defense up and down the board? They have every match across the board.
Look, it's
like, it's not even close.
The Browns still, like, they have good receivers, right? Like,
Yeah,
Ari Cooper, Elijah Moore, like there's good players over there. But when Pierre Strong has been the leading rusher for the Browns the last 2 weeks. I know Jerome Ford's, quote unquote, the guy. Kareem Hunt's still kind of coming back. It's probably going to take a couple more weeks for him to really, if we even get like old Kareem Hunt. They've still got good receivers, but at the same time, it's like, you don't really, I think, have to worry about the run beating you. And then it really just becomes a matter of shut the receivers down, get PJ Walker moving around, get them uncomfortable.
And they will. I mean, Nick Bosa, Warner, like they get guys to the quarterback every game, regardless of who they play.
Yeah.
I don't know how they don't, have a handful of sacks this game or a ton of pressures. It's going to be a very uncomfortable offensive game for the Browns. It's going to be a real struggle.
Kiernan?
I just didn't have the game on my card at all. I just, to me, like, I agree, especially now we're getting really good value, right? It's 7.5, it's up to 9.5. So there is value there. I just hate when a pick feels too easy. I try to stay away from those because I feel like, you might come out on top on one of them, but then, for every one of those, there's like those 5 where it's like, this is an absolute lock, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden some absolute bullshit happens. The big reason that I was staying away from it is because it's the Browns coming off a bye week. I feel like they've maybe had an idea that there needs to be some type of contingency plan for Deshaun. So I don't think that this was a huge surprise for them. But for the most part, it's really just this Browns defense is really good. They're not allowing red zone points. And the big reason for that is they're not really allowing red zone visits. They're able to keep teams between the 20s and really limit that. I think it's just going to be a low scoring defensive battle. And for that reason, I always get a little bit scared when it comes to bigger spreads. Of course, this isn't like a massive spread, but yeah, like I said, it just felt too easy. I like kind of, the Stu Feiner mindset of like, you should basically be like sick to your stomach when you're making a pick. That's how you know that you're making a good one. So I just stayed away from the game in general, but I do agree, gun to my head, I got to make a pick. You got to take the Browns. Just like, you can't.
Or the Niners.
Yeah. Or yeah, the Niners. I guess maybe your Freudian slip there. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was just too easy. I stayed away from it. It wasn't in my top 3. And even for my top 5 for my own personal pick 'em pool, I just stayed away from it.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, I'm 1-4, so I'm sick to my stomach making the pick.
Yeah.
So I think I passed the Stu Fighter.
Yeah, you're in that
because it's like the thing where it's like, when the analysis becomes like, I don't see how they lose. I don't see who stops this offense. I don't see how they get past this defense. It's like, you're telling me there's not a single negative to this pick. Vegas just gave us a pick. They're handing us a pick on a platter. So it always makes me nervous. But like I said, I mean, like statistically, like you're still going to come out on top of those. In some, it's just that, I don't like playing that game of Russian roulette too much when it comes to those picks.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, I'm just going to ride the best team in the NFL, only laying 7.5 against a team that doesn't have their starting QB and their starting running back. Like, to me, that just feels like a pick I got to make, that's it. It comes down. It's as simple as that,
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got our individual picks in. Let's go to Sunday night. So Sunday night, we got the Bills minus 14.5 against the Giants. The Bills are obviously coming back from London off a loss to the Jags. The Giants are just coming into week 6.
So yeah, let's see who starts us off. All right, Bowen.
I'll tell you, Bowen's really been catching the wheel lately.
I know the wheel's really been loving me. Really been loving me. Feel very blessed. I just can't. I feel like we've been on the Giants a lot. This season so far. I know I've personally been on the Giants a lot, kind of hoping for that bounce back, or we've been chasing that. And I don't think it's gonna happen. So for that reason, I'll start it off with the Bills. Giants are a dumpster fire. Don't know what's going on over there. Can't put my name next to them again. Tristan, what do you got?
Is it me, or do we?
Do we spin the wheel?
Just go.
Yeah. It's all about who starts it off.
All right. So, all right. I'm gonna make Kieran. I'm gonna make it matter. I'm on the Giants plus 14.5. Normally the narrative is to fade Daniel Jones and the Giants in primetime spots, but Daniel Jones isn't playing. At least the latest I saw, he's out. And so enter Tyrod Taylor. We got a 34-year-old veteran QB. He's a former Buffalo Bill. Bills are coming back stateside after taking an absolute fucking ass whooping in London. They also suffered some tough injuries. Milano and Daquan Jones both out. They already lost Tre'Davious White. Saquon's practicing. It seems like he's on track to return. I don't know. I actually feel more comfortable with a guy like Tyrod Taylor right now to keep the Giants in the game, to keep them competitive. I think the Bills are licking their wounds right now. And it's, again, like it's not to say that this can't be a get right game for the Bills, that they can't come back and, after losing to the Jags and get the W and kind of get themselves back on track. But, we're not asking like the Bills to win. We're asking them to cover 14.5.
Yeah.
And this isn't, again, like I said, we're not, we wouldn't be backing Daniel Jones in a primetime spot. Now we're backing Tyrod Taylor, in a primetime spot again against a guy, with a guy who's playing against a team that he used to play for, and took to the playoffs. So I'm on the Giants plus 14.5.
Is Daniel Jones confirmed out?
He's
Is that a
trending
thing?
down. He's trending down. He hasn't practiced
Oh,
in
okay.
days. So like, yeah, it's not official anything, but it does seem like they should be gearing up for a Tyrod Taylor start.
Yeah. 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 If you're not practicing on a Thursday, you're probably not playing.
Okay.
Shit.
Okay. This is the stat I was looking for because I do think that's a compelling argument, especially, because I was thinking too, it is kind of a system play, just like I can't in my right mind bet on Daniel Jones in prime time. So, but I did find this out. Only 11 times in NFL history has a team returned home from Europe without a bye week. Every one of those teams was tied or trailing in the fourth quarter the following week. Opponent team totals were 7-4 to the open. Then over the last 3 seasons, only one team has closed as 14-point favorites off a loss. The Bills did win. It was the Bills. They won 26-11. It is tough. So I guess it would kind of suck if all of a sudden Daniel Jones, gets up for the start and then it's like, shit, are we going to bet on the Giants? And now suddenly we're back in Daniel Jones. I don't know. I am a little bit torn. I'm thinking, I think I might want to go with the Giants here. I'm thinking about it. My theory has always been that Daboll was the straw that stirred the drink there. I was talking about Buffalo going in there in kind of a vacation spot in Europe and maybe taking the time to do some sightseeing, being more focused on the culture and everything like that, and getting rusted up to come back. But then all of a sudden you got, like you said, Matt Milano. I don't know who the hell that other guy was, but I'll act like I know it's a big loss.
He's a D lineman.
Yeah, I think Von Miller was going down. I think he came out of that game. I'm not sure if he made that return. I do think that there could be a little bit of a jet lag factor there. I do think that maybe they could be coming, back just maybe a little more beaten up, maybe morale a little bit down. And that 14.5, that hook does scare me a little bit because I do feel like this could also be maybe a bit of a boring, low-scoring game, especially with Taylor playing quarterback. They could be kind of keeping tighter formations, really running the ball. It sounds like Barkley has a chance to come back this week as well. So if they do kind of keep it on the ground, keep that clock running, I don't like taking that big spread when I am predicting that type of game script. Of course, there always is just the opportunity. It's the Bills. They come out and just absolutely curb stomp them and beat them like 38-13 or something. So that does worry me. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat the entire time, fading the Bills there. But I do think it's too big of a number for how I think that game's going to go. So I'll take the underdogs here.
All right.
I think the big reason is that I do think that Daboll's a good coach. I do kind of like that factor of him going against the team. I do think that maybe he's the offensive mind instead of Sean McDermott or Ken Dorsey. So I think that
he's the guy that's credited for turning Josh Allen into who he is. So
exactly. So he might know exactly how to scheme for him and everything too. So I think that it's interesting. I think it's just too big of a number.
I mean, you see like even in the opener, one of the things I think we talked about after that game, because I was on the Bill side, you guys were on the Jet side. And obviously we snuck out of there with that one after Rodgers went down. But, Josh Allen has a very terrible history against the Jets. So like there is obviously a blueprint, that does exist to beat Josh Allen. And if anybody else, aside from the Jets, would know what that blueprint might be, it's the guy that turned him into the guy that he is. So, yeah. All right. I like this though. 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking too, like last year we kept trying to fade the Giants, and then they just went on that run where they were just covering the spread left and right. Yeah. And I think we're at a point in the year too, or maybe like it feels like we're ready to count teams out, but I think it is too early to really close the book on some teams because like it seems you get hot for a month and all of a sudden they're back in it. And I'm not saying they're going to start winning games, but if this was betting on the Giants to win in prime time, like no shot. Like you're absolutely not convincing me. I don't care who they're playing. I'm fading them. But yeah, at that big of a number, like I said, I think it's going to be a slow run game, kind of run the clock. So at that
I mean,
point,
if it's
I'll take
Tyrod Taylor, Dayball might actually like be like refreshed because he seems like really fed up with coaching Daniel Jones. Like this might actually be like a huge blessing for Dayball just to be able to coach anybody else besides Daniel Jones because he's throwing iPads around on the sideline,
yeah,
making a scene, yelling at him like every time he comes off the field. So maybe getting a veteran in there that he's familiar with. Who knows?
I mean, you got to wonder, like, is Daniel Jones' neck even that bad, or is Dayball just like, oh, it's a little sore?
yeah.
Just take a little time off.
I mean, this really could be. We were joking about it in the group chat.
Take care of yourself. You're the franchise guy.
This could just be the Tobias Fuke meme again, though, where it's like, well, yeah, like we've sworn off betting the Giants, especially in prime time, but like maybe this time is the time to actually do it.
I love the pick. I picked against it, but I love it.
Tobias Fuke is all-time character.
Oh yeah,
the best, man. The best.
David Cross is so good. Oh my god.
All right. Let's get to this.
Let's do it.
All right, Tristan.
All right. I'm going Chargers plus 2.5 over the Cowboys. It's Chargers coming off a bye. I know we are anti Staley on this podcast. But I love Justin Herbert in primetime spots. I think he thrives in these spots. He's got a reputation for stepping up in these spots. And I don't think the Cowboys thrive in these spots. I mean, we saw it Sunday night, got absolutely crushed against the 49ers. And I don't have any illusions that the Chargers are on the same level as the 49ers, but I do like them in this spot coming off the bye. They're winners of 2 straight. I think they're catching a team that seems to have more questions than they have answers about their seriousness as a contender. Austin Eckler practiced in full yesterday. I don't know what his status was, but he does today, but he seems like he's on track to make a return. I think it's going to make that offense so much more dynamic, having him back there, even if it's in a limited capacity. So I really like the Chargers in this spot. I think Herbert's a significantly better quarterback than Dak is. I think from a weapons perspective, relatively even. And both coaches are incompetent, so that's a wash.
Yeah.
So in this case, I'm going to ride the quarterback that I think is better, and the one that's getting points coming off the bye. So I'm Chargers plus 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it easy and just say that I'm also on the Chargers here. One thing that's really stuck with me since the offseason was when Kellen Moore made somewhat of a lateral move. I guess you could argue it's better because he's in a better spot. Maybe he's, in position to maybe be the interim head coach if Staley were to get fired, or maybe he's next in line in LA where maybe he didn't have that pathway up in Dallas. But he just left to become the offensive coordinator of a different team. And one comment that was made, I don't know if it came directly from Mike McCarthy's mouth, but it was out there that this is how McCarthy felt. He felt like Kellen Moore, as offensive coordinator, was looking to score too much, which I think is like the craziest thing you could say. And I understand that when it comes to football, clock management is very important. And sometimes you don't want to blow your load. And we see all the time. And, in games where Mahomes against the Jets, right? He's running and they felt like it was the better call to just take the slide and run the clock out and not risk anything with the Jets getting the ball back. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that Kellen Moore is maybe this is somewhat of a revenge game here. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I don't think he was like this offensive whiz in Dallas, but I feel like the offense is for sure taking a step back in his absence. I think this is an opportunity for him to come in, home team, off a bye, getting Eckler back. I think that this could be a high-scoring game, and it might be a one-sided high-scoring game. I think Kellen Moore could come out, run the score up, and it might be similar to kind of that game against the Niners last week, where Dallas, they just fall behind, and then they have no fight left in them, and LA just kind of runs that score up on them. So I like the home dogs here.
Yeah, I mean, it was I had a feeling it was going to go this way, but it's always the Chargers. It's hard to trust the Cowboys in this spot. National TV, they just feel like they every year. I mean, everyone knows it, but they just get like national TV to death and put in those primetime games like 8 times, 9 times a year. It feels like, and just always feel like they're coming up short. Love getting points at home, always, especially with a good quarterback like Herbert. Really can't go wrong. Can't go wrong there. And yeah, I like the pick. Don't have to. If it's one of those picks, you just don't think about too much. You put it in. Cause it's the right pick to make. So yeah, love it. Love the Kellen Moore angle. Love the idea that McCarthy might Kellen Moore might try to go out there and put up a ton of points because of McCarthy kind of coming out and saying that, and openly talking about him maybe not being the best offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, or however that maybe was interpreted. So yeah,
the only thing that will stop Kellen Moore from doing that is Brendan Staley.
Yeah, I mean, there is always that risk, and it is kind of like
he
a
is an idiot
place when it comes to gambling trends too, right? I mean, like it's kind of tough to fade the Cowboys coming off a loss like that. Like you think, like, well, you know what, like they have to bounce back, but then they're going against an underperforming Chargers team. But then you also have the underperforming Chargers team who, like they're not as bad as they've seemed to start off the season, and they're coming off a bye week, and they just had a huge defensive week to build off of. And I mean, Herbert has an opportunity to rest up his hand a little bit, and they can kind of figure out exactly what they want to do without Mike Evans. Maybe Quentin Johnson has a little bit more time to get acclimated, or maybe they can get Josh Palmer a little bit more involved. But they still have a really good offense, and then also getting Eckler back. It's like, I mean, if I got to choose one of those, like I said, the Cowboys coming off a big loss, a big embarrassing loss like that, or the team coming on the bye week, I'll take the home dog coming off the bye week any day of the week.
Yep.
Chargers also just got rid of J.C. Jackson, and I heard that he was being a problem on the sideline in their last game, like not refusing to go in. Nobody likes having that guy around. I think getting rid of him out of that locker room with that defense, have a week off to gel and replace him completely, even though it sounds like he wasn't really getting much run. That counts for something. I don't know how much it counts for, but it definitely counts for something. So yeah, I feel like the Chargers are on the up.
All right.
Love it. I also love what is your guys' take? Just to go back quickly on the Giants and the Bills. What's your guys' take on the Josh Allen Stephon Diggs relationship?
It's toxic.
You think
It's
so?
toxic. Oh, it's so toxic.
I feel like they're probably buddies, but I think that Stephon Diggs is like actually just fed up with the Bills, whether it's the direction, whether it's who the coach is or whatever. I do think that there's real anger there, but I feel like off the field, the two of them are probably good buddies.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen loves Stephon Diggs more than Stephon Diggs loves Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I think that's the relationship. I think Josh Allen is like desperate to be his friend, and Stephon Diggs is like like KB said, you're probably actually good, but at least on the football field, it feels like a one-sided.
I mean, I think that Diggs is for sure a bit of the diva wide receiver too, where it's just give me the damn ball. I want 15 targets a game. Like I don't give a shit if that means that everybody else gets 2, as long as I get mine. So I mean, I think that there is that aspect to it.
He's the I'm him on the sideline. Anytime you're saying I'm him, I mean, please.
He's the guy that has to be the scorer in like the 2K lineup when you're playing with your buddies. He like has to be the guy that shoots the threes.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I always think it is funny too, and the teams they really try to deny it. But I mean, even as we've seen, right? I mean, we'd always get so mad whenever there's like a negative report about the Brady Belichick relationship, and then you hear it's like, well, no, it's like that actually was true. Like they actually weren't getting along, or Belichick had a problem with Alex Guerrero, or like that story about not letting them or giving them like a janitor's closet to work out in actually is right. And it's the same thing, right? We heard all that stuff with Stephon Diggs in the preseason and training camp, how he was holding out, and then he showed up, and then he left, and all that stuff. And they really tried to downplay it, but it's like it's very clear that there was something there. So I don't know if they did get it resolved. I don't know if his problems just kind of went away or whatever. But it's like there's no denying that there is drama there, and at this point, they can't deny it at all.
Yep. Yeah, the reason I asked is because I saw a headline on the front page of ESPN that said Bills wide receiver Diggs thankful QB Allen has my back. And I just feel like anytime you see a headline like that, it's like, oh man, they're doing like a press tour to like, I mean, this is PR crisis management 101.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that doesn't sound bad between the two of them. Like that, to me, that does sound like it's one of those where it's like, yeah, I know this is bullshit, but like whatever. But I mean, if he's sticking up for him, he's sticking up for him. And I mean, it's not like I don't think that that's anywhere near Justin Fields and the offensive coordinator, like that coordinated hug that they had that they put out on social media. Like that was like fake. But yeah, I mean, I think for a quarterback to be sticking up for his receiver, I don't think that that's as bad.
Speaking of stage, Karen, did you see the link to the trailer I sent you for the Nathan Fielder movie?
No, I don't think I watched it. No,
I sent it to you on Twitter. It's an A24 film too.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Nathan Fielder.
Yeah.
Making a movie.
Well, actually, I think it might actually be a series.
Okay.
I think it's actually a series, but and he's got Emma Stone in it. But apparently they go to a town and they're doing like home renovations. But it's like one of those things where like, they try to present themselves as like doing good for the community, but the whole thing is like, it's all about like filming and like trying to, create content and like make it seem like they're better than they really are. And there's one of the scenes in the trailer that I sent Kieran, the guy who's like filming everything, the director, he's like, hey, I want to get a shot of you going over and like offering that child over there money. So he like goes over and he like, it's like a stage thing of him being like, hey, like I want to give you this money. He like only has $100 bill in his wallet. So he like gives her the thing and they get the shot. And then he's like, hey, so I only had 100 in my wallet. So if you could give that back to me, and then what I'd like to do is give you some change, like, and it's like a typical classic Nathan Fielder moment. Like, I was thinking the whole scene.
That's exciting. Have you seen his new show at all?
The one that was on Max?
Yeah.
Where he was like what was it called?
What, The Rehearsal?
The Rehearsal. That one?
I actually haven't watched it at all.
Oh my god, you gotta watch it. It's
ridiculous.
It's awesome.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
It is totally ridiculous.
It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Did
you gotta watch it.
Oh, and did you watch it to the very end?
I believe so, yeah. If I'm remembering correct.
Did you see the shot at the end where like they had it was like the little girl, and then like she goes like down the slide, and then when she comes out the other end, she's like fully grown or whatever.
It's the stupidest shit in the world.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
It really is.
Hey, Karen, you would like it because like he went so meta, like so many layers deep in terms of like how we started to recreate and rehearse things. Like he was rehearsing rehearsals within the rehearsal of the rehearsal. It was like, I mean, he was 4 layers deep on this thing of like, I mean, at some point you're just like, you feel like you're in the movie Inception. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Dude's a genius. He's the best.
He is. He's really, really good. So
Emma Stone's in that new one, huh?
Yeah, I'll send the trailer to the group thing that we have on it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. I love our picks this week, guys. I really do love our picks.
Yeah, I mean,
I know we say it every week
early on when I joined about how the card was ugly, but I kind of like it. I mean, I like having to just like, pick like a diamond out of like a pile of shit or something, where it's like, yeah, I really don't like any of these. It's kind of like I was saying about the Niners game, where it's like I always get scared when I'm like almost like magnetically attracted to a pick, where it's like I gotta get on that. So it's like having to just like kind of comb through these and be like, all of these hurt to take. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old expression. I'm going to bring back an old expression, Kieran. Money's in the crumbs.
Yeah. Sure. It was our old team name too.
That was our old team name. Yeah. Indeed. So, all right. Let's recap them. So we got Kiernan's on the Bengals -2.5. Eagles, Bowen -7. I'm on the Niners -7.5. We are on the Giants +14.5. We did have a dissenting vote. But the Giants are the pick. And then for the Monday night game, we're on the Chargers +2.5. All three were in agreement on back on the Chargers for that one. So those are the picks.
All right.
Let's do it.
Word.
Let's keep building.
Word.
All right.
All right. I'll talk to you guys.
We'll see you.
All right. Yeah. Peace.